Have you ever walked down a deserted school hallway and felt like someone or something was watching you? That lingering sense that shadows shift just out of sight, even when you're completely alone. Some places absorb trauma. They retain the fear of those who've been there. In certain schools, never forget what happened inside. What you're about to hear aren't just rumors or urban legends. They're real confessions. Terrifying accounts from people who experienced sheer terror among chalkboards, empty desks, and locked doors. If you've ever been too scared to use the school bathroom, walk past the maintenance room, or stare down those endless corridors, this video is for you. Warning, not every lesson comes with a clear answer. Some are taught with blood. Before we begin, hit that like button, subscribe, and comment on which story chills you to the bone. And share this with someone brave enough to study in one of these places. Now, turn off the lights, crank up the volume, because our first story starts in... Room 13 had always been locked. Always. No one really knew why. Teachers said it was storage. The principal claimed health code violations, and the students, they avoided that hallway at all costs. But my curiosity got the better of me. It was my senior year in public schooling. Old building with narrow halls, cracked tile, and a constant smell of mildew. These hallways seemed alive, exhaling whispers of the past through every rusted hinge and stuck door. Then, during the final week of classes, something felt off. At exactly 5:12 p.m. every day, heard knocks coming from room 13. 3 loud raps, always at the same time. I showed the security guard the tape I'd hidden inside a locker, just outside. His face went pale. "We don't use that room," he said. "No one even has a key." The next day I planted an audio recorder outside the door. That evening, I played it back and froze. It wasn't knocking anymore, it was scratching, like long fingernails dragging along metal. I heard shallow breathing, then a voice, a girl's voice, begging, "Let me out, please. I'm still alive." I showed 2 friends. They laughed until we traced the smell. It was rotten, like decaying flesh. Then came the note taped to my locker the next morning. "You shouldn't have listened." I couldn't sleep. Nightmares came of a girl in an old uniform, her skin alarmingly pale, eyes hollow, her hands stained with blood. She knocked, always at 5:12 p.m. One night, I stole the key from the main office and went back alone. The door shuddered as I turned the knob. The room was pitch black, but I could make out the massive cabinet chained in the corner, rusty, ominous, and ominously silent. The chains were broken. On the floor, scratch marks like someone had clawed their way out. Inside the cabinet sat an old diary, 1997, written by a girl named Letitia. She wrote about bullying, solitude, and how the whispers of room 13 promised an end to the pain. The final entry, they said I'd be free, but now nobody will let me leave. That cabinet is still there waiting for a curious soul, and the knocks continue. Every day at 5:12 p.m. If this story chilled you, click the link below for even deeper terrors in our exclusive ebook. I was the night janitor at St. Jude Public High School, an old 3-story building with wooden staircases that creaked with every single step. Nothing out of the ordinary. Until, one night, the creaking started without anyone walking. I was alone, as usual. My routine was simple. Turn on the exterior lights, check the classrooms, power down any equipment, and make sure no students got locked in after night classes. The school had an odd vibe. Sure, but nothing that ever scared me. That changed on a Monday night. I was on the first floor checking windows when I heard footsteps coming from the central stairwell, slow, one at a time, like someone was carefully creeping down, trying not to make noise. But the stairs creaked loudly. I rushed over to check. No one was there. I shook it off, thought maybe I was just tired. The next night, the footsteps came again. But this time, there was something else, a whisper. Faint, like the wind was trying to speak to me. "Hey." From that point on, everything escalated. On Wednesday night, I found tiny, childlike handprints in the dust on the railing, and in the mirror of the second-floor bathroom, a message smeared in what looked like dried blood. They scream when they fall. I decided to quit, but something wouldn't let me. It felt like the school had chosen me. That Thursday, I brought a voice recorder. I hid it at the base of the stairs. When I played it back later that night, my heart nearly stopped. The audio started with footsteps, then something being dragged, and then screams. Multiple screams. Children, boys and girls, crying, pleading, and at the end, heavy thud, like bodies hitting the ground. I had to know more. I dug through the school's old archives. That's when I found it. In 1986, part of the building underwent emergency renovations. A collapse during construction caused the upper floor to cave in. 4 students were crushed to death on the stairwell. It was rebuilt since then. But the sounds at night never stopped. Friday night, I returned one last time. I brought a candle, an offering. Deep down, I felt they just wanted to be heard, like they were trapped in that moment of falling, reliving it over and over. The candle blew out on its own as I reached the second step, and then the floor shook. I felt invisible hands grip my legs, yanking me down the stairs. I tumbled, rolled, hit every step. Bad, but at the bottom, I heard it. Now you know how it feels to fall. Since then, I walk with a cane, but the real pain comes at night, in the dreams. I wake to the sound of footsteps and children's screams that never find peace. These days, I steer clear of old schools, and anytime I hear Old Wood Creek, my heart skips a beat. If you're ever alone in a school at night and the stairs begin to scream, don't go down. They're waiting for you to fall, too.
If you liked this story, click the link below and uncover even deeper horrors in our exclusive ebook.
This happened at a small school in rural Pennsylvania. A secluded campus, surrounded by thick forest and a fog that seemed like it never really lifted. That's where something strange started happening during the morning shift. Students began talking about a new teacher. They said she was different, very pale, always dressed in black, her eyes sunken, almost lifeless. But the strangest thing was the silence. No one ever heard her speak. She'd just point at the board, and somehow, without saying a word, the students understood the lesson. It all started when a junior told his mother he didn't want to go to class anymore, not if Ms. Black was teaching. His mom, confused, called the school the next day. They told her there was no one by that name on the staff. Administration looked into it. The teachers denied any knowledge of a substitute, but the students insisted she was teaching first period in room 6, every Wednesday, same time, same room. I was the guidance counselor at Black Hollow High School at the time. When I questioned the students about this teacher, all of them all of them described the exact same woman. Long black hair, a floor-length skirt, and a necklace with a red gemstone. I got curious, so I checked the security cameras. That's when everything fell apart. The footage from room 6, between 7 and 8 a.m., showed no one inside. No teacher, no movement, just the students, sitting still, facing the chalkboard, as if someone were actually there teaching them. I froze. This wasn't just a group hallucination, it was something worse. I brought the footage to the principal. She told me to keep quiet about it, said we didn't need any scandals. But I had to know the truth, so I dug into the school's old archives. And that's where I found her. A black and white photo from 1952, the first graduating class of Black Hollow High, and among the staff, there she was. Same face, same stare, same necklace with the red stone. Her name, Agnes Black. According to records, she died in a fire in room 6, alone. The fire started during a chemistry experiment. They never found the body, and then things got weirder. In the following weeks, 3 students collapsed after first period on Wednesday mornings. All 3 had circular burn marks on the back of their necks. like something scorching hot had touched them. We called a priest. He stepped into room 6 to bless it. Less than 2 minutes later, he came out pale and trembling, and all he said was, "She's still teaching." We locked the door for good. But every Wednesday, at 7 a.m., the lights inside that room flick on by themselves. And if you stand close enough, you can hear faint chalk scraping against the board. We've never opened that door again, but the students still say they see a woman in black walking the halls. And sometimes, when they're alone, they swear they hear a voice whispering answers in their ear. So if you ever find yourself at an old school, and a silent teacher points at you from across the room, run. She doesn't want to teach you. She wants you to stay forever. The first time I noticed something was wrong was when I looked at the clock 12:17 p.m. The second time, same thing. By the third, I started to realize I was trapped in recess. It all started at a high school called Dunbridge High, out in rural Ohio. It was a typical Friday. Bright sun, kids laughing, the thump of basketballs echoing across the courtyard, and the unbearable smell of cafeteria food drifting in the air. Me and 4 friends were sitting by the fence, talking about life, complaining about classes, dreaming about the future. Then the bell rang to end recess. Everyone stood up. Everyone, except the 5 of us. It was like time literally froze. I looked around. People were frozen mid-movement. A girl stood with an apple halfway to her mouth. A teacher was mid-stride, 1 foot floating above the ground, in the sky perfectly still. No clouds, no breeze, just static. We thought maybe we'd been drugged, or maybe it was some kind of prank-augmented reality or something. But when the sky suddenly started to darken for no reason, and the clock in the courtyard stopped exactly at 12:17 p.m., we knew it was serious. We tried to get out. The front gate locked, the school doors sealed, like welded shut. We screamed, we cried, we pounded on windows. Nothing. Then, one of us disappeared. Jason, the class clown, the one who swore it was all a joke, just vanished. No scream, no sound. He was there 1 second, gone the next, like he had never existed. Suddenly, time resumed. People moved again. The world snapped back into motion. But Jason was gone. His stuff was gone. His name wasn't even on the attendance list anymore. The next day, it happened again. Recess. 12:17. Freeze. Trapped. Another one gone. Then, the third day, and the fourth. Each day, one of us disappeared. Each time the clock froze, there were fewer of us. And nobody seemed to remember those who had vanished, until it was just me. By Thursday, I knew what was coming. I tried to skip recess. I locked myself in the bathroom. I hid in the janitor's closet. But 12:17 p.m. came anyway. Time stopped, and I was back in the courtyard. But this time, something was different. There were marks on the ground, names scratched into the cement. Jason, Maya, Troy, and mine, freshly carved. The dust still floating from the engraving. Then I saw them, children, wearing old uniforms. Hundreds of them, eyes dark and glassy, like empty sockets, slowly walking toward me. All of them pointing up. I looked to the sky and there it was. A massive shadow spinning above the school, like a black hole. I felt the pull gravitational heavy. My body began to break apart. I could feel myself turning to dust. And then voices, inside my head, whispering, echoing. Those who are forgotten, return. I woke up, in the nurse's office. She said I had fainted in the courtyard, but I knew better. I looked at the clock, 12:17 p.m., and in the reflection on the window, just for a second, I saw Jason, waving at me. Since that day, I've never looked at the recess clock again. I changed schools. I moved cities. But, every Friday, at 12:17 p.m., the world around me slows, and just for a second, I hear it again. that ticking sound that signals the end. And I know, sooner or later, they're coming for me too. At the main entrance of Halleridge Academy, a private school in Massachusetts, there's a long hallway lined with portraits of former students, sepia-toned photographs in dark, heavy frames, faces of serious young people who, according to the school, had brought honor to the institution. Legend has it that everyone whose face ends up on that wall disappears shortly after graduation. I never believed those stories until the day I saw my face up there, and I hadn't even graduated yet. I was always just an average student. Mediocre, really. Grades good enough not to fail, but bad enough not to stand out. But that morning, something was off. When I walked down the hallway, I froze. At the end of the honor gallery, a new frame had been hung, and it was my photo, exactly like the one on my school ID, except for one disturbing detail. My eyes were slightly blurred, like someone had erased the soul from them. I ran to the front office. Nobody knew who had placed the portrait. The secretary swore the gallery hadn't been updated in years. Even worse, my name wasn't on the honor roll list. That night, I was the last to leave. As I passed through the hallway again, my portrait wasn't alone anymore. Next to it, a new frame had appeared. A student no one recognized. But the creepiest part, his face looked exactly like mine. The next day, I started having blackouts. Entire chunks of my day were gone. People started telling me I was different, my voice colder, my eyes more empty. Then one of the oldest teachers at the school pulled me aside. The kind of guy who knows too much and says too little. He told me quietly that for decades, the school had maintained a pact, a deal made by former headmasters, with something that lives beneath the school, an entity that demands tributes, sacrifices. Every year, he said, a student is chosen. Their face is framed, their soul is copied. A doppelganger is created, a perfect replica, but with no humanity. And little by little, it replaces the original until the real one disappears. That's when it hit me. I was being erased. Each night, my dreams got darker. Each time I looked in the mirror, my reflection twisted just a bit more. My parents started forgetting little things about me. My friends called me by the wrong name. And the worst part, when I tried to take the portrait off the wall, it bled. Yes, blood dripped from the frame, and I heard it clear as day. A whisper coming from the photo. "You're mine now." That night, I tried to escape the school, but the gates wouldn't open. The lights went out on their own, and in the reflection of a window, I saw him, my double, smiling. Walking through the front doors with my backpack slung over his shoulder. He walked right past me. No one noticed. The teachers greeted him. The students laughed at his jokes. And me, I was forgotten, like I had never existed. Now I wander the hallways like a ghost. No one sees me. No one hears me. But I see everything. And I hear it all. Every year, a new face appears on that wall. So if you ever attend a school with old portrait galleries, don't stare at them too long. Because if you ever see yourself up there, it's already too late. Schools are supposed to be places of learning, of friendship, of building futures. But what if, behind every portrait on the wall, behind every locked door, behind every bell that rings, something is watching, something is waiting? You've just heard 5 real account stories from people who saw the impossible, who lived through the unspeakable, and who somehow survived to tell the tale. But not all of them were so lucky, because in some schools, time isn't linear. The walls remember, and the eyes watching you from the back of the classroom, they're not human. Be careful about which room you walk into. Be wary of your reflection in the bathroom mirror. And most importantly, watch the attendance list. Sometimes, there's one name too many. Sometimes, it's yours. You might forget what was on the test, but you'll never forget these stories. Tell us in the comments, which one of these stories chilled you the most? Leave a like, Share this video with someone who's ever been scared of their own school. And subscribe for more stories that defy logic and corrode your sanity. And remember, if you liked this story, click the link below and uncover even deeper horrors in our exclusive ebook.